The red lights pulsed through the command center like a heartbeat fading too fast. Captain Veltar of the Zephyrian colony stood rigid before the central display, his three-fingered hand clenched against the console. Shield power had dropped below 25%, and another wave of Vorthon dropships was already descending. 50 more incoming, Officer Krenda announced. Her voice trembled. She had stopped trying to hide it. Sector 7 has collapsed. Mining crews are retreating to the shelters. Veltar didn't respond. He watched the tactical display where enemy markers outnumbered his by more than 10-1. The math was no longer a matter of victory or defeat. It was about survival for the 50,000 colonists hiding underground with just 2 weeks of air, water, and hope. Chief Engineer Morse's voice broke the silence. Captain, we can stretch the shield 4, maybe 5 hours more. After that, I know, Veltar replied. Outside, Kepler's Rest burned. The Vorthons had arrived 3 weeks earlier, demanding access to the rare crystals beneath the colony. When the Federation delayed, they attacked. Now 12 defense ships were gone. Over 300 defenders had died. And still the Vorthons came, merciless, armored beasts with plasma rifles and no regard for civilian life. Admiral Crexton's threats still echoed in Veltar's mind. Surrender, and only half your people become slaves. Resist, and none will live to remember you. He had made his choice. Sir, Communications Officer Yenta called out. Still no word from the Federation. Jamming is too strong. Send the signal again. Someone might be listening. And far away, someone was. Aboard the United Earth ship, defiant Captain Jake Morrison leaned forward in his command chair. Repeat that, he said. Communications Officer Pete Collins nodded, fingers flying across his console. The static resolved into a cracked voice. This is Captain Veltar of Kepler's Rest. Civilians under attack. We are out of time. Help us, please. 3 seconds of silence followed. Then Morrison stood. Set course for Kepler. Maximum burn. All departments prepare for humanitarian crisis and combat response. Commander Lisa Grant blinked. Jake, that system is 3 days away at full speed. Then we make it in 2. No one argued. The Defiant surged into motion, her engines screaming against their limits. Because when humanity heard civilians were under fire, the response wasn't politics. It was protection. They were coming, and they would not be late. The Defiant burned through hyperspace like a spear hurled by the gods. Chief Engineer Bobby Torres stood in the engine bay, sleeves rolled, sweat beading on his forehead. Alarms flared around him, not from failure, but from strain. Fusion reactors were being pushed past every red line. Fuel reserves were burning fast, but not as fast as the minutes ticking away. Reactor 3 is near overload, shouted Ensign Walker. She'll hold, Torres snapped. We hold the line back here so the captain can hold it out there. Keep coolant lines steady. Vent heat to secondary ports. We're not exploding. Not today. On the bridge, Captain Jake Morrison monitored the growing chaos of incoming data. Civilian life signs were detected through long-range scans, thousands clustered underground. Surface telemetry was bleak, intense heat signatures, collapsing structures, and a full planetary blockade by Vorthon vessels. Commander Grant studied the enemy formation. 23 enemy ships, all combat-rated, were outgunned 20-1. Then we make each shot count, Morrison said. I want targeting solutions ready the moment we drop out. Tactical surprise is our only friend. Flight Commander Amy Sullivan entered, helmet tucked under one arm. Fighter wings are prepped. We're loaded light for speed and high maneuver combat. Just say the word. You'll get it, Morrison said, then turned to Collins. Any way we can punch through the jamming field? Collins shook his head. Negative, sir. Signals being buried in an active plasma distortion field. Must be generated from orbit. We won't get a word through until we're in close range. Jake exhaled slowly. Then we make noise the old-fashioned way. Back on Kepler's Rest, Veltar paced the dim command bunker. The walls trembled with each distant impact. Civilians were secured in the shelters, and every able-bodied colonist had taken up makeshift arms. Miners with cutting torches, engineers with reinforced drills, even children helped pass supplies. Still no response, Yenta whispered. Veltar stared at the fading display. The last defensive drone had been destroyed an hour ago. The sky above was now fully in Vorthon control. Maybe no one is coming, she added, softer still. We don't have the luxury of despair, he said. They'll come. Someone will come. But in his heart, the weight of silence was becoming too much. And then the silence broke. Captain, Collins shouted, we're at system edge, dropping out of hyperspace in 5, 4. The stars snapped back into view, and before them lay Kepler's Rest, burning. 23 black Vorthon ships patrolled its orbit like vultures around a corpse. Commander Grant's hand hovered over her console. Orders, sir. Morrison stared at the enemy wall. Broadcast to all frequencies, he said. Let them know Earth has arrived. A single phrase echoed across the void. This is the United Earth ship Defiant. You are engaging a civilian population. Cease fire and withdraw, or face consequences. The void waited. Then came the Vorthon reply. Laughter, dismissal, threats. Morrison's eyes hardened. Target their jamming ship. Let's make sure the galaxy hears this. And with a flash brighter than any sunrise, the battle began. The jamming ship exploded in a bloom of blue and orange flame, debris scattering across the upper atmosphere of Kepler's Rest. For the first time in days, the colony's desperate signals broke free into open space. On the Defiance Bridge, Communications Officer Collins cheered. Signal breach confirmed. Transmissions are escaping the blockade. Patch them through to the Federation relay, Morrison ordered. Let the galaxy see what's happening here. Grant nodded at the screen. Enemy fleet is shifting. They're pissed. They'll have to stand in line, Morrison replied. Launch fighters. Defend the colony at all costs. Flight Commander. Sullivan's voice cut through comms. Wings 1 through 5, form up on me. Prioritize bombers. Take heat off the surface. Human and automated fighters surged from the Defiance hangars, maneuvering hard into the Vorthon formation. Dogfights ignited across the sky, burning streaks crisscrossing above Kepler's dying clouds. Sullivan's squad disabled 2 bombers before the first casualty hit. One of their interceptors spiraled into the ocean, vanishing without a trace. Back on the ground, Veltar watched in stunned silence as the sky lit with streaks of fire, some falling, some rising. Yenta, are you seeing this? He asked. I am, sir. I think. They came. The humans. They actually came. The bunker erupted in a moment of stunned awe. Children peered up from safety corridors. Miners wept. No one had expected rescue, and yet here it was, roaring through flame. In space, the Defiant twisted through Vorthon crossfire. Captain Morrison issued rapid commands, countering each wave with ruthless efficiency. Oh, brace for torpedo spread. Shields front. Explosions rocked the hull, but the Defiant held. Internal lights flickered. Casualty reports coming in, Grant said grimly. We knew the cost, Morrison replied. Keep firing. We're not here to survive. We're here to make sure they do. Below them, first dropships broke the blockade. Defiant-class shuttles carrying medics, engineers, and combat units. Marines hit the ground running, fending off stunned Vorthon squads who'd grown complacent. Sector 7 secure, came the ground report. Evacuating wounded. For the first time, the colony fought back. Over open comms, a new voice cut in. Admiral Crexton of the Vorthon fleet. You dare interfere in what is not yours, human? We have the right of conquest. Morrison responded with steel in his voice. You don't have rights, you have targets, and we're still choosing which one to erase next. A pause. Then Crexton snarled. You've made your choice. Morrison grinned. No, we made our promise, and we always keep those. As day turned to night over Kepler's Rest, the battle raged on. But humanity had arrived, and they weren't leaving. Smoke coiled above the ruins of Sector 6, where human Marines clashed with entrenched Vorthon ground units. Plasma fire stitched the air. Grenades shook the foundations of shattered domes. In the heart of the cratered zone, Lieutenant Marla Reyes led her platoon through fallen corridors, scavenging cover where none existed. The Marines moved like liquid through broken metal. Suppressing fire left. Move! Move! Reyes shouted. Her armor was blackened, her pulse rifle burned hot. Private Anders slid behind a bulkhead. How the hell are they still fighting? Because they don't think we'll stay, Reyes grunted. Let's prove them wrong. Above the planet, the Defiant circled like a hawk. Her hull was scorched. Fires had breached Deck 9, but damaged crews pushed through the inferno. Engineering rerouted power through auxiliary conduits, buying precious seconds for the wounded below. On the bridge, Captain Morrison wiped blood from his brow. Status of the dropships? 2 more waves en route, Grant said. We've lost 3, but the rest are pushing through. They'll need cover, Morrison replied. Target those Vorthon cruisers flanking the approach lanes. Wipe them out. The Defiant's main guns roared again, and 2 enemy cruisers erupted into debris. In the command bunker of Kepler's Rest, Veltar stood beside Yenta as medics rushed past them. For the first time, humans and Zephyrians fought side by side in the corridors. Captain, Yenta said softly, they're saving us. Really saving us. No, Veltar said, voice breaking. They're fighting with us. At the refugee shelters, human medics treated injured civilians while children clung to their uniforms. A young boy, barely 10, grabbed a Marine's gloved hand. You came, he whispered. The Marine knelt. Of course we did. That's what humans do. In orbit, Admiral Crexton issued new orders. Send in the Reavers. If they want a war, they'll choke on it. From the dark edges of the system, Vorthon elite warships, the Reavers, emerged, armed with disruptor lances and breacher drones. A new storm approached. On the Defiant, sensors screamed. New contacts, heavier signatures. Reaver class confirmed. Morrison's face hardened. We've held the line this far. We hold it again. Alert all ships. Call reinforcements. Earth won't abandon this field. He turned toward the display, fists clenched. This is where we prove it. The Reavers came fast, sleek and brutal, their black hulls absorbing light like void beasts. Each vessel pulsed with disruptive energy, warping sensors and cutting through comm frequencies. Aboard the Defiant, red lights painted the bridge. Brace for impact, shouted Grant. The Reavers opened fire. Disruptor beams lashed against the Defiant's shields. One pierced through, vaporizing a segment of the dorsal hull. Damage reports screamed across every deck. Breaches on decks 5 through 7, Torres called. Auto seals holding for now. Captain Morrison clenched the edge of his command chair. Deploy drone swarm. Target their shield harmonics. Don't go for brute force. Outthink them. Hundreds of micro-drones launched, darting like metal fireflies. They swarmed the lead Reaver, latching onto seams and feeding real-time data back to tactical AI. Calculating resonance disruption path, Kamara reported. Then, with surgical precision, the Defiant's secondary battery fired a single round. The lead Reaver shattered. On the ground, Lieutenant Reyes and her squad watched the explosion in the sky. The troops around her cheered. Nice shot, whoever that was, she muttered, then raised her rifle. But we're not done. Push forward. Take Sector 5. They surged through debris and smoke. Zephyrian volunteers joined them, wielding their own weapons, their song-like language echoing orders. For the first time, humans weren't just leading. They were following too. In Kepler's subterranean shelters, the mood shifted. Families began to believe. Zephyrian children, who hadn't spoken for days, started humming. Hope spread not as an order, but as a current. In the command center, Veltar leaned toward the communication terminal. To the humans, he said into the open channel, voice steady, you have given us more than defense. You've given us a chance. We fight with you now, to the end. Back in orbit, 3 Reavers closed in. The Defiant couldn't take them all. Then came the unexpected. "New contacts dropping from hyperspace," Collins shouted. A fleet emerged, human ships from other sectors. Earth's call had been answered. Frigates, cruisers, and medical carriers surged into the fray. Admiral Chen of the UHS Orion appeared on the main screen. "Q, heard you needed backup, Jake." Morrison exhaled hard, a smile cracking his battered face. "You're damn right we do." The second battle for Kepler's rest had begun in earnest. But now it wasn't just a fight for survival. It was a fight to reclaim the stars. The arrival of the Earth fleet changed everything. Dozens of new ships tore into the flank of the Vorthon line. Coordinated strikes severed the enemy formation, forcing them to pull back into tighter orbits. Reaver units were met with overwhelming resistance. Humanity, it turned out, hadn't come alone. They had come prepared. On the Defiant, Morrison stood amid a storm of data. "Give me real-time damage analysis," he ordered. "I want to know where we hit hardest." "Enemy dreadnought at 40% integrity," Grant replied. "They're focusing shields aft. They're trying to escape." "Then we box them in," Morrison growled. "Deploy carrier wings around the rear vector. We end this today." On the planet, Reyes and her forces took control of the central reactor station. With its recapture, local power grids surged to life across the settlement. "Shelters have full atmospheric cycling," her tech officer reported, "and we just reconnected to the eastern comm towers. Civilians are calling out to the fleet. They're asking if it's really over." Reyes paused. "Tell them it's not over. Not yet, but we're winning." In orbit, Admiral Chen led the charge on the largest Reaver cruiser. Tactical coordination between the Orion and Defiant allowed for a pincer strike, cutting through its main weapon banks. Plasma vented into space. Escape pods jettisoned. The cruiser fractured. Meanwhile, Veltor stood before a crowd of Zephyrian survivors. He wore his old militia jacket again, the one he thought he'd never need. "You fought bravely," he told them, "but now we must fight wisely. This is our home, and no tyrant will take it from us again." The Zephyrians cheered, not as survivors, but as soldiers. The battle tilted. The last Reaver attempted a slingshot escape around Kepler's moon. "Permission to intercept?" asked Commander Sullivan. Morrison nodded. "Take your squad. Cut them off." Sullivan's fighters arced like falcons into the dark. They struck fast, disabling the Reaver's engines. No kill was needed. The ship drifted, powerless. By nightfall, Kepler's skies were clear. The remaining Vorthon forces surrendered or fled. Ground teams secured every facility. Civilians emerged from bunkers. Laughter and cries mixed in the streets. And for the first time in weeks, Kepler's rest lived up to its name. But the war wasn't over. Not yet. Because now the galaxy was watching. Rebuilding began even before the last smoke faded from Kepler's skies. Captain Morrison stepped from the shuttle to a wave of cheers. Zephyrian and human hands alike reached for him. For the first time in his career, he was speechless. Veltar approached, robes scorched but back straight. He extended a hand. "You didn't have to come." Morrison grasped it firmly. "That's exactly why we did." Across the colony, engineers worked side by side. Earth drones stabilized collapsed domes, while Zephyrian crystal forgers reinforced structural lattices with resonance patterns. Language barriers crumbled in the face of shared goals. In the command dome, Reyes, Grant, and Veltor coordinated reconstruction. Each shelter restored was a victory. Each life saved, a spark of purpose. "Humanity brought fire," Veltar said in one council meeting, "but not the fire of war, the fire of endurance, of belief." News of Kepler's defense spread. Broadcasts flooded every major system, clips of humans shielding Zephyrian children, Marines lifting rubble, pilots dragging wounded from wreckage. All viral. Earth's leaders spoke at the Galactic Council. "This wasn't an act of conquest," President Diaz said. "It was a declaration. We do not leave the innocent to die. Not anymore." Some worlds remained wary, others inspired. Small planets began requesting Earth's aid. A coalition started form, not of dominance, but of dignity. Back in orbit, the Defiant underwent repairs. Her hull was scarred, Her crew changed, but morale soared. Sullivan, watching the moon from the hangar, turned to Morrison. "They'll come back someday. You know that, right?" Morrison nodded. "Then we'll be waiting. Not alone. Never again alone." A monument was raised at Kepler's Central Plaza. Two intertwined flames, one of Earth steel, the other of Zephyrian crystal. Beneath it, the inscription. "When the night was deepest, they came not as conquerors, but as kin. And those who passed by didn't just remember the battle. They remembered the bond. The fire hadn't ended. It had only just begun." The days that followed were quiet, but not still. Kepler's rest hummed with activity as reconstruction efforts doubled. Earth engineers oversaw the installation of a planetary defense grid, integrated with Zephyrian energy amplifiers. Children returned to lessons taught in both languages. Hope had not just returned, it had taken root. In orbit, the combined Earth-Zephyrian fleet remained, not to guard, but to reassure. No one would be left to wonder if help would come next time. In the command dome, Morrison met with the newly formed Kepler Council. Veltar sat at the head, alongside Commander Reyes, and representatives from both species. "We were alone once," Veltar said. "Now we are many." Reyes leaned forward. "The Vorthons won't stop with Kepler. They tested our will here. Others will be tested next." "And they won't face it alone," Morrison said. "The Federation's hesitance ends here. If they won't act, we will." On Earth, footage of the Kepler aftermath flooded the networks. Public outcry swelled. Debates raged in Federation halls. But one thing became clear. Humanity's presence could no longer be dismissed as isolationist. From Luna to Titan, from Mars to Europa, recruitment surged. Civilians volunteered. Engineers submitted hybrid defense designs, and former Federation officers began defecting to the growing human coalition. Kepler had become a beacon. Back aboard the Defiant, Morrison stood before his crew. "You did what others wouldn't," he said, "and now we build what others couldn't. We stand not as conquerors, but as guardians." They saluted, not with pride, but with quiet resolve. In the night sky of Kepler, the new orbital array shimmered, a network of satellites designed not just to warn, but to respond. Children in the shelters now slept without fear. Farmers tilled soil instead of bunkers. A world reborn. And yet, across the stars, the echo of what happened on Kepler's rest reached systems far and wide. A simple truth rang clear. They had given up. But humanity didn't leave anyone behind, and never would. Thank you for joining this incredible journey through hope, defiance, and unity. If this story moved you, inspired you, or made you believe in the strength of standing together, then you're already part of the message. That humanity stands for more than survival. We stand for each other. Tell us your favorite moment from the Kepler's Rest saga in the comments. Was it the first Defiant stand, the unity in battle, or the promise of peace? Like this video if you believe no one should be left behind. Subscribe for more original HFY and sci-fi stories where courage, humanity, and hope shine across the stars. Share this story with someone who needs to remember that even when things seem lost, help can come from the most unexpected place. Until the next transmission, stay bold, stay human, stay with the fire,